Good morning, and welcome to your early morning intelligence update explainer. Today is July 17th, 2026, and we're bringing you the South Central Asia Situation Report. Our goal today is simple. We're here to calmly, professionally, and accurately give you the facts. No bias, no spin, just a clear-eyed look at a very complex region based entirely on the data. Let's get right into it. Now, before we dive into the geography, I should mention that this briefing is brought to you by ProWave AI. They're the developers behind the AI-powered open-source intelligence platform Stylo Intel Ops and its commercial version, Stylo News, which you can find on the web and in your app store. It's their analytical architecture that allows us to structure today's insights so clearly for you. All right, let's take a macro view of South Central Asia. Looking at the latest intelligence estimates, we're seeing a very specific threat environment. Now, to be clear, the data doesn't point to an imminent, full-scale war between major powers. Instead, we're entering a period of elevated instability. What we're looking at are overlapping, subconventional crises. Basically, that means we're seeing localized skirmishes and internal unrest, rather than massive armies colliding. The friction is local, but the strategic implications, they are vast and deeply interconnected. Over the last 2 weeks, 4 main storylines have dominated the intelligence streams. First, we've got active military clashes along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Second, there's a sharp escalation in the Balochistan insurgency. Third, a 6.1 to 6.2 magnitude earthquake in the Hindu-Kush region. And finally, some key regional diplomatic realignments. We're going to break down each of these factually and impartially. Our most volatile flashpoint right now involves active military action. Intelligence reports confirm Pakistan has carried out targeted airstrikes and ground operations into eastern Afghanistan, specifically in places like Paktia and Kunar provinces. Now, Islamabad's official stance is that these are necessary counterterrorism strikes aimed at alleged safe havens for the TTP and other militant groups, following an attack on a Pakistan Rangers facility in Karachi. On the flip side, Afghan Taliban authorities have forcefully condemned these strikes, calling them a violation of their sovereignty. And intelligence indicates we're now seeing retaliatory drone and border fire linked to Afghan elements targeting Pakistani territory. It's a very active and frankly dangerous action-reaction cycle. Crucially, this border friction is happening right alongside some severe internal security challenges. In Pakistan's southwest, security forces recently launched a major counterinsurgency push known as Operation Shaban. This intensive ground and air campaign kicked off after a major militant attack where 18 police personnel were abducted and executed. As a result of the military's response, reports estimate that between 75 and 102 insurgents have been killed in the operations around the Manji Dam area. So, as you can see, the state is battling intense pressures both internally and externally. Shifting gears from geopolitical conflict to a natural disaster, nature has added another layer of complexity to the region. A strong 6.1 to 6.2 magnitude earthquake recently struck the Hindu-Kush region. The tremors from this were felt across a massive area, spreading through Afghanistan, Pakistan, northern India, and even into several Central Asian republics. Now, while it caused widespread panic and evacuations, especially in those hard-to-reach, rugged mountain areas, early assessments thankfully show no confirmed immediate mass casualties or major structural collapses. Still, it's a stark reminder of the region's shared vulnerability to natural disasters on top of the ongoing political friction. So, how are these events playing out across the board? Locally, communities are dealing with border insecurity, the tragedy of cross-border civilian casualties, and the panic of those earthquake evacuations. Zooming out to the national level, governments in New Delhi and Islamabad are trying to manage these internal security brushfires while also juggling heavy economic debt burdens. At the same time, Bangladesh is stepping up to acquire advanced Chinese fighter jets. And internationally? This localized friction has global actors like the UN and Russia calling for immediate de-escalation, while Bangladesh's defense agreements are subtly shifting the entire geopolitical architecture of South Asia. To really understand where this is heading, we have to objectively look at the perspectives of the key decision-makers. India's position is clear. They publicly condemn the cross-border strikes as reckless aggression. New Delhi is focusing its diplomatic energy on calling out regional terror networks, while prioritizing its own internal economic management. Pakistan, conversely, frames its military actions as absolutely necessary defensive counterterrorism against proxy groups operating from Afghan soil. And simultaneously, Islamabad is trying to leverage its global diplomatic standing by acting as a mediator in Middle Eastern conflicts involving Iran. Expanding our review a bit, let's look at the wider regional players. The Afghan Taliban authorities are really focused on maintaining domestic control. Alongside condemning Pakistan's border violations, they're enforcing strict internal measures, like banning smartphones, to control the flow of information, maintain their ideological governments, and ensure regime security. Then, looking east, the Bangladesh government is playing a highly calculated strategic game. They're actively managing their own complex border security friction with India, while at the same time making strategic diplomatic and economic pivots toward China to modernize their military hardware. When we analyze the raw social media sentiment, we see a highly polarized digital environment. Pro-Baloch and anti-establishment streams are sounding triumphant yet angry. They're celebrating insurgent resistance and heavily criticizing state military control. On the other hand, Pakistani nationalist accounts are fiercely defensive and assertive, justifying state security actions and frequently pointing the finger at alleged Indian hybrid warfare as the root cause. Meanwhile, Indian strategic channels maintain a critical but optimistic tone, heavily emphasizing Pakistan's internal unrest, military overextension, and economic vulnerabilities. But here's what's really interesting. Despite these fiercely divided narratives, our intelligence sweep reveals one crucial, underlying truth. Across all platforms and political leanings, there is a single, broad consensus. Everyone seems to acknowledge that South Central Asia is a rapidly escalating regional flashpoint. Users across the spectrum recognize that the region is highly volatile right now, and the risk of a localized lethal escalation is increasing by the day. So based on all this data, what should you be watching for in the days ahead? Our near-term strategic forecast highlights three main things. Number one, watch for continued localized border violence, particularly artillery and raid activity along the Durand Line. Number two, expect intensified information operations as states battle for public and diplomatic support. And number three, anticipate persistent internal security incidents, including insurgent attacks and civil unrest. But again, we firmly reiterate that our intelligence indicates a very low probability of a coordinated four-way general war anytime soon. To pull all these threads together, I want to leave you with a definitive analytic judgment straight from our intelligence estimates. Quote, South Asia is in a persistent instability cycle where subconventional conflict, insurgency, communal violence, and border incidents are more likely than major war. That right there is the clear, authoritative takeaway defining the operational environment today. And that concludes your early morning intelligence update explainer. Thank you for your time and your focus today. If you value this impartial, structured approach to global events, here's our call to action. Please go listen to the full South Central Asia Situation Report morning podcast on your favorite channel, or just follow the link attached to this post. And definitely subscribe to Stylo News to get your AI-powered news on demand at stylonews.com. Before I sign off, I'll leave you with this final thought. In a region defined by overlapping subconventional crises, what specific diplomatic leverage do you think will ultimately be required to force a true de-escalation? Keep asking the hard questions, and we'll see you for the next briefing.